All righty then. Good evening, gentlemen. How are you guys doing this evening?
Hey, man. Good.
It's such a pleasure to see such distinguished gentlemen in the house representing for the culture. All right. Terrence, you recording that? Terrence, you know what? You don't even need to record it. I mean, you can record it, but I don't think you need to.
It's already doing. Go for it.
Okay. Because, the YouTube page will pick it up and we'll have it there. But, yeah, I guess we can go ahead and jump right in to this. Topic of conversation this evening is the Biden-Harris 2020 election ticket. And as we got into a small discussion earlier, there are a lot of views out there. What is that? There are a lot of different views out there as far as how people are thinking. I mean, you have some on this side of the counter. They're thinking negative, that she's not qualified, that she's not Black, that she's against the Black man because she incarcerated a substantial number when she was, I think either she was an attorney general or the DA in California. I'm not sure the exact dates on that.
General.
It was attorney general.
I think so.
Attorney General of California. So there's a lot of misinformation, a lot of confusion out there, and we just wanted to get a few people together that had their own mindset about what's going on, and just kind of have a sort of a roundtable discussion and share our views and thoughts. And maybe at the end of this conversation, maybe we can bring some balance and some new life to what we see, other than what the media is projecting and sharing out there. Because a lot of times, people, we take the stuff that you see as at face value, and that's all we know. We don't go in and we don't do our research to find out anything further than that. And as we all know, there's always more than one side to a story. So with that being said, Chad, introduce yourself.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Chad Bumgarner. I'm a leadership development coach. I also do team building, diversity training, things of that nature. I have a weekly podcast on YouTube and other podcast outlets, Chad Bumgarner, but the name of my company is CDB Consulting Group. I also do a weekly podcast with two good friends of mine called Our Voice 360, Our Perspective, Our Ways. And we run the gamut of topics: entertainment, sports, Black history, inspiration, things of that nature from a Black perspective. That's it, man. Just happy to be here and happy to be in the roundtable. And it's a very good podcast, guys. I watched it a few times. I caught the initial. Did you do a pilot episode? We did.
I might have saw a pilot episode before you even jumped in, and y'all started doing it on a weekly basis. And that airs on Fridays. I'm not sure what time, but what time do y'all normally air that on Fridays?
I would say around noon. We'll probably jump around noon. We do it around noon on Friday. Every Friday around noon.
Okay. Yeah, guys, there's a lot of good information in there. I even learned something when I jump over there and check it out. And it's a good dynamic between the three of you guys, the way you guys play off each other. And then, there's some back and forth questions that come into play, and the discussion is organic, and it has a good feel to it, a good flow to it. And you can kind of tell that the information that you're presenting out there to everybody, that you really care about it, and you want to, try to find and deliver some type of change. So I enjoy it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. We take pride in the podcast, man, and it's really about three good friends having a great conversation about topics that pertain to us as a people. Contrary to popular belief, we are not a monolithic people. A lot of us like sports. A lot of us like history. A lot of us want to know what's going on in the business aspect from an African American perspective. So, we touch a little bit of everything, and we try to make it a conversation format, because we want you to feel like, you're a part of the conversation as well. And most importantly is bringing content that we feel is relevant and needed to our people and other people,
Right.
that are not people of color that want to listen. I mean, it's a great way to get enlightened, to learn some things that you may not know, so yeah, we enjoy it, man. Every Friday around noon, Our Voice 360. You can go to Facebook. The Facebook page is called Our Voice 360. YouTube, same thing, Our Voice 360. Spotify and Podomatic, and iTunes and everywhere else on your the various platforms. Our Voice 360.
Absolutely. But yeah, I don't know where to begin at. I mean, I guess we can kind of begin at like some of the stuff that we've been kind of seeing out there on social media about, the Biden-Harris ticket. And in the last few days, I mean, there's been a real focus on Kamala as far as, was she the right pick? Maybe she should have picked Rice. Maybe she should have picked Keisha. And there's a couple of other ones out there. And I think from what I was gathering prior to the announcement and the push to put someone on, a female and a Black female at that I guess they feel like, and this is out there too, and you've probably seen it, they feel like she's not Black enough. That's kind of the talk out there. I mean, there's more to it, but they feel like that she wasn't Black enough. She wasn't a Keisha Lance Bottoms or a Susan Rice, which, I mean, Susan Rice, I mean, if you want to take face value, I mean, you want to look at complexions and all of that. I mean, but I mean, to me, and this is just my 2 cents. This is just my 2 cents of it. Watching Kamala doing her run for to get the nomination for president, and just watching her demeanor and how she carries herself pretty much like someone that would be in our community. She does not carry herself like someone that I would think would be from a different culture or a different background. She of course, she's educated and she's level-headed. She's very smart. She's held, various positions, so she has great experience in what she's doing. She's a very good speaker. But even with all of that, you still, to me, what I get, I can still feel, that Blackness from it. You can detect that twinge. You can tell when someone is from a different place or not. You can look at them, especially when they start to speak, and you can say, well, that person, they didn't grow up around here. You can kind of detect that. And see, I didn't get that from her, that she was from somewhere else or had a different type of growing up in the background. I got that she grew up in our culture. I get that. When I hear her speak and I hear the tones and undertones and how she flows and how she does that, that's a Black woman right there. That's a Black woman. I don't care what she's mixed with or anything like that. She has that ethnic culture that I can tell that was in her heritage. And from what I understand, her father is Jamaican, and I believe her mom is an Indian descent. Is that correct? Keep me honest.
Indian and Asian. Yeah.
Right. But the Jamaican nor the Indian comes through to me from her. When you listen to her talk and you listen to how poised she is when she's delivering what she needs to deliver, that's a strong, educated Black woman speaking there. That's all I hear. Now I don't know how you guys view it, and I'll stop right now and let you guys jump in there and give your view on that point.
I mean, from my standpoint, right now, I'm looking at, truthfully, I look at what you can do for this country. Personally, it's great that we do have a Black female, educated, all that stuff. That's great. But at this point, I'm looking for the best person for the job. To Biden, it's admirable that he was insistent that he wanted a Black female. He stuck with it. He did that. My point now is she the right person for the job? And really, time is going to tell. Politics is a very, very funny thing. It's very fluid, so to speak. It's like water. You can catch a little bit of it sometimes, but for the most part, you can't catch an amount of water in your hands. So you won't know until we get into November, the votes come in, and then we get into January. If that ticket wins, then you'll start to see, okay, now you're in place, you got the position. What are we going to do now? So I'm okay with his choice. That's his choice. He's got his reasons. I'm okay with it. I think she is, qualified for the job. She's educated. Very proud of the fact that she's from an HBCU. That is outstanding and great. Wish it had been A&T, but we can't win them all. But I applaud what Biden is doing, and the fact that she will be our first. If they win, she will be our first female vice president and the first African American vice president of that. So she kind of checks 2 boxes at one time. So it's a great thing. It's another moment in history. So you got to make sure that history stands true.
Okay. I hear what you brothers are saying. I guess I'm just gonna say what everybody's not. I feel like Biden picked somebody that he could control. Okay. I feel like not to say that she's not capable of doing the job, but outside of Biden, you'll never know if they're able to do the job, because this is the job that nobody's ever done until you get into it. You know what I mean? President or vice president. Biden is the only one we know that has been in that position before. The other and of course the one that's in office now. But Kamala was not my original choice. I think I would have went. I mean, if Stacey or Keisha were in the top 4, I would have gone with either one of them. Outside of that, I probably would have went with Susan. But it is what it is. I think Kamala is capable. But again, I don't think he wanted somebody that was, how do I say it, too Black. I'll just say it.
Well. Let me jump in for 1 second. You make a valid point, because I was having a discussion with one of my friends the other day, and this is before the announcement, before he announced who his running mate would be, and I said he's either going to pick Rice or he's going to pick Kamala. And the reason I said that he was going to pick Harris is because I think she's closer to his mindset as far as her background and what she's done, and looking at his background and what he's done. They kind of run like linear to a degree. It's not perfect or anything like that, but the history of work that they've done, and I was only gauging that off of some of the negative stuff that I heard. You heard about the crime bill that Joe Biden did. You heard about when she was Attorney General, how she was putting people in jail and everything. Like some of that stuff kind of lined up. And I was like, he's probably trying to pick someone that, would line up with him, which I'm agreeing with you, what you just said. Mm-hmm. Now, I have to disagree on the control part. I don't know if she's in a subordinate position, but that woman is strong. When I watch her, when she's sitting in there and some of those people are coming before Congress and she's questioning them, she's smart, she's clever, and she sets it up. She comes in and if you're not right, she's going for the jugular on it. She's going to make you fall into the quicksand. Then she's going to put a foot on your head and push you on down. I've seen it with her teeth out. So, but I digress. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I want to throw that in there real quick.
No, I just feel like he grabbed her because he felt like I guess some of the stuff their policies are, like you said, they're kind of in parallel or they're linear, or whatever. But I also feel like he feels like he can kind of control her somewhat, or not control, but kind of keep her reined in, if you will. See, being in the Senate is one thing. Being the VP, that's a whole nother ball game. It's a whole nother ball game.
Yeah, because VPs, they're generally relatively quiet unless they're asked to really say something. They're not really out there in the spotlight like just running off at the mouth. They kind of sit off in the background a little bit, and they take their cues from the president.
Right. They're part of a support system, and
right.
and oftentimes an advisor to the president. And I think it's kind of a good call because she has access to his ear, especially when it comes to the plight of people of color. Old Joe is taking a hit when it comes to dealing with people of color, in the court system. But I'm not a big fan, and I'm not trying to go too far off track, but this is pertaining to Joe and Kamala. I'm not a big fan of the culture, the cancel culture. I do believe that people can evolve over time and learn from their mistakes and change and grow. Now, with Kamala, that was a big spotlight cast on her about how she dealt with African Americans as a attorney general, how she was very stiff on the punishments, if you will, of African American versus other people. I don't know that to be true. I have not done the extensive research, and a lot of times the people.
I've done the research. I've done the research on it, and to that, hold that thought. But to that point about how she dealt out the punishment, there's some false narrative there because people haven't looked at it closely. But what she was actually doing is, and this let me set the scene for a little bit. And you guys understand this. When you're working at a certain level and you have like subordinates and people up under you and you're operating with this and you have this responsibility and that responsibility, then the total of what you're doing, your subordinates, they may not understand it because you're dealing out orders and you got marching orders over here and everything. It doesn't make a lot of sense to them. But when you're at a certain level and you're operating at a certain level, it makes perfect sense for the objective of what you're trying to achieve.
Right.
Now, the law is the law. 9 times out of 10, especially back then, she didn't create any laws. She was only abiding by the laws that were already there. And she was in a position to do a job that she was hired to do. Now, as far as all those convictions and everything that she was pushing, she was getting like small time weed cases and everything coming through. She wouldn't convict any of those. Now, if it was something big, like heavy, and they were moving pounds and stuff like that, some stuff you just can't overlook. Or if it was a heinous crime or whatever like that, some stuff you can't overlook. You have to go in and you have to do it to the extent of the law, what the law will allow. Now, when you hear them say, hey, she gave him the harshest punishments or anything like that, this woman is dealing with like 10,000 cases in the state of California as an attorney general. She's not handling all those cases herself. She's got other people up under her, and they have marching orders to do X,
But
Y, and Z.
because she's the top dog, she gets
they're
the
going to look.
eye.
Right,
Yeah.
they're going to look at her. But at the same time, when you're in that position, and this goes back why I said the preference, she saw what was going on. So what she started doing after she was in that position, she started creating programs for people that were like getting sex trafficking, people that were coming in for these drug offenses and everything, programs to put them over here so they would learn, hey, this is not the way to go, to educate them so they don't fall into the system. When they had these laws and they come in for these small accounts, but it would count as a felony on their record, she wouldn't put a felony on their record. She would get them into the programs that she created in order to educate them so they would know what's going on. It's the same thing that happens with like DUIs and everything. And that's specifically here in Georgia. They have started to put people in place to where it's okay, we're not going to put you in jail and do all of the stuff to you. We're going to put you in a program and educate you around the substance abuse. We're going to send you to classes and everything. Yeah, it's going to be hard and take some time out, but the whole goal is to stop what's happening. You can put someone into the system and everything, and they'll come back out and they'll keep doing the same thing. But being at a higher position and you're seeing everything that's going on, you recognize this and you try to stop and create things that are spun that so we can start pushing in a different way. This is what she was doing at that level when she was in that position. I digress. You go on.
No, but that was the whole thing. And it was like when I would ask people, well, what exactly is it that she did that rubbed you? And no one can give me what you just gave me. No one could give me the in-depth information. So it's like they're listening to somebody else. Oh, that's jacked up. So now they go with it instead of doing the due diligence. That's why I was like, I haven't done the research, so I can't say yay or nay. But from what I've seen from her, and like you were saying, especially the hearings when she, was questioning I can't remember the guy's name that she pretty much just grilled several weeks ago. Bart?
Oh yeah, she grilled Barr. She grilled Sessions when he had all the attorney generals up on the Trump. If they had to come up in Congress to speak, she was on them, all of them.
And then she just
recently did Barr like last week.
But what about the guy of Supreme Court? Kavanaugh. She really let into him. So I know she's sharp. I know she's witty. She does her homework. She comes ready to play ball. You're not going to get too much past her, if anything. So I think she needs a better PR team.
Hold up.
Dealing with this crime bill stuff, she needs a better PR team to kind of help clean that up. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say here's the thing, and this is just me, and I mean, there's gonna be some people that don't like it, but it is what it is. But the reality is this: we have to stop basically making excuses for ourselves. If you commit a crime, be a man enough to say, I committed a crime. Now, when you put yourself on the mercy of the court, when you walk into that courtroom, you can say fair versus not fair. But the reality is, if you break a crime, now I'm not talking about innocent people that go to jail, I'm not talking about them at all. But if you commit a crime consistently, if you're a habitual crime person, and you keep going into the court system, and you think that you should get a slap on the wrist every time, I'm not trying to hear that anymore. If this woman's job was to basically prosecute people, now if you're telling me what I've heard, that she was so much harder on Black people, well, let's think about it this way. Remember how, as growing up, you were a kid, you had certain parents that used to be like, oh, don't do that again. And then you had certain parents that whooped your ass so that you made sure that you wouldn't do it again. Because now, as they call it in the court system, it's called recidivism. And home life is called doing it again. So if I whoop your ass good enough, you're not gonna do it again. You know what I'm saying? So if I punish you to the letter of the law, now if she's breaking the law and punishments, that's different. But if I'm punishing you to the letter of the law to say, hey, I'm trying to tell you, don't come back here again, we can't sit back and be upset with her for doing her job. Now, if you can tell me and definitively say to me that she basically said, I'm going to put all of our black people in jail because I hate black people, which I can't see her doing, then then we're talking about something totally different. But we've got people out there basically jumping on this woman for doing her job. She went to Howard University. People. Help me understand. How do you hate black people, but you go to Howard University? This woman
not only that,
AKA.
She plays AKA at Howard.
Right. So for our people, and when I say our people, because and this is something I tell people all the time, we all not the same. That's just what the reality is. All black people are not the same. We are not the same. Nope. We have similarities, we have things in common, but we are all not the same. How I grew up in my household with my mother is not the same as you and him and her. It's just not the same. So our experiences are different. Now, there's some things that we experienced that were similar or close to being the same, but how my mother talked to me might not been how your mother talked to you, and that may have an effect on you. But I said that to say, people have got to get out of this head of you're owed something. You still talk about reparations. We're owed reparations. Well, if they want to give it to me, fine. But don't sit back and wait on it. We got to get out here and get it done for ourselves. What happened then is not happening to us now. We're not enslaved. Now, some people want to put us back in slavery, most definitely. But we're not enslaved now. We don't get beat up for reading.
No, you right, brother Terrence. I agree with you. I think history is repeating itself. It's just in a different format.
Okay. I didn't say it's not repeating itself. I said we're not enslaved, because there's a big difference. Because when you talk about slavery, some people in their mind like, well, we're slaves now. Well, I beg to differ, because I can walk out the house anytime I want. I can go buy pretty much what I need to buy. I can read anytime I want to read. I can own property. I can vote. Most of us can, some of us can't. But what I'm saying is, yeah, there's definitely some history repeating itself, but it's our job to make sure that it doesn't. And the way to do that is to stand up. We can't just loot and tear up property and burn down the city. We've got to do the other thing. How many people have ever been to a city council meeting? How many people have actually, been to a planning meeting, a city planning meeting? How many people have actually sat down with a politician or a school board member and just had a conversation and said, hey, I'm not understanding what's going on in the school system. Can you tell me? Let's go to a lower level. How many people actually go to a damn PTA meeting to know what your kids are doing in school? You know what I'm saying? So when we get into this,
do they even have PTA meetings anymore?
Yeah,
do they call it.
They do. They label it different, but it's called something else. It's the same thing.
Yeah, well, anyway, go ahead.
But my point is, we've got to get out of our way, screaming and moaning and groaning about how life isn't fair and we keep getting the short end of the stick. We know this. We can see this, but we've got to do something about it. And it starts with being accountable to ourselves. We can't be accountable for our brother if we can't be accountable for ourselves. We can't go out here and march for George Floyd and then go back to the hood and rob everybody in the damn hood. That makes no sense to me.
We got to know what?
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Chad. Go ahead.
No, but I was gonna say that with what Terrence was saying, with Kamala, we have to put, and this is the hard thing for us, but we have to put our differences aside and go ahead and ride with the ticket that we have, because here's the thing. The ticket's already set. He asked her, she said yes. So instead of talking about all this yesteryear, and I do agree that history to a certain extent is important, but do your research. I did not on her. I did not. But my thing is, this is the ticket now. So we need to roll with this ticket and give them the opportunity to prove themselves. Because it's either this or 4 more years of what we have right now.
And that's the other part. That's the other big part about that. You know, we already know what we've had and what we got. And it ain't for us. It ain't about us. You know what I mean? As people of color, this wasn't for us. It wasn't about us. So whether you like Biden, whether you like Harris, whether you like either one of them, there has to be a change. So let's make this change, hold them accountable. And if they can't get it done, guess what? There's another election in 4 years. If we blessed to be here, we get it. And that's the other part. That's the one thing that I, getting out of this just a little bit. The one thing that I was not happy about with the Democratic Party is we didn't have a solid plan when Barack Obama was walking out that door. That plan was not solidified the way that it should have been. And for me, a lot of people can say what they want. Hillary won, she actually won, whatever. From my mindset, Hillary was the wrong person to run right after Obama left the White House. It just wasn't her time. It was just the wrong situation at the wrong time, and people stood up and said, "No, not happening."
She had a lot of baggage. She had a lot of baggage with her.
She did.
Not
too soon.
Not only just the baggage, man. Just if we're gonna be real and blunt, we went from having a black president. Now you want to have a woman president? Now that's not me. I had no problem with that. But
mainstream wasn't ready for that.
They were not ready for it, and they were not going to let it happen.
To Terrence's,
one more second. You got to think hard about this. This is, when you think about it, we know this, but think about this, because it makes me laugh every time I think about it. They were so against having a woman and having Hillary be president that they decided that a reality star who had no experience, who had no idea what to do, who has no diplomacy whatsoever, that's the better choice. I'd rather have him than have this woman be president. That's funny to me, but go on.
No, all I was going to say was, to your point, what you were saying earlier about when Barack Obama was in office and we didn't have a plan for when he came out of office. And I think we had this conversation before. I don't know if we did it online or offline. There should be a grooming process for that next person that we believe should be taking that place. You know how carpenters and if you're going into a certain discipline,
plumbers, electricians, they have what you call journeyman.
You have to do an apprenticeship, and you have to be groomed till you get up to that certain expertise to that degree. There should have been someone in place, or not even someone. It could have been several someones that were in close proximity in that environment that we were looking at, that's being groomed over time to be able to handle themselves a certain way, to be able to speak in a certain way, to be that diplomat, especially from our standpoint, which the United States is supposed to be held up on a pedestal as a beacon for the world and an example to follow. There should have been someone or someones being groomed for when that time came. As the competitor to the other parties that may have their own person to put in place. And I think that's, to Terrence's point, that's a failure. That's a failure. And that should be corrected.
And that's what we call in business succession planning.
Right.
There you go.
You said it.
Your leader is about to step out. Before he or she steps out, years before, they're supposed to be grooming a person or a group of people, like you said, Ronell. That's where the Democratic Party fell short. We're not grooming the next potential candidate for presidency to carry on what we need to carry on. But we as Black folks, we have to have more organization amongst each other.
Right.
We can't be so divided because we'll never be able to get anything done. Here's the deal. We've got to be able to, at some level, put aside our differences and ride for the common cause. Forget the fact that you're Muslim and I'm Christian. Forget the fact that you're gay and I'm straight. Forget all. Right now, the issue at hand is about the welfare and the well-being of Black folks in America and how we're being treated and the rights that they're trying to take away from us. That's more important than my religion and my gender at this moment. I can change religion at any time. And it appears nowadays that I can identify with any gender I want to.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the one thing I cannot do is change my color.
Right. You're right.
I was Black long before I even knew I was a boy or girl. I was Black long before I knew I was a Methodist or Episcopalian or Muslim. This is one thing that we always have been and we will always be. And if we have that mindset, okay, now look at how our country treats us. Enough is enough. We need to become more organized and be able to put aside petty differences. Why he got to be the CEO? Why he got to be over this? Why does she get to take the photo out? That's not the point. The point is, what is our agenda? What are we doing to get this agenda accomplished for us? Period.
Right. And to that point, and this is something that Terrence was talking about the other day that made a lot of sense. And Terrence, if you can remember what you said, you were talking about a wasted vote. You remember that?
Yeah. What people have failed to realize at this point in time, especially now, which is amazing. We have decided, and I say we because as people, that's us, but it's a lot of us that are doing this now. Instead of, as you just said, Chad, realizing this is where we are, this is what we need to do at this particular moment, we have got to have a change in administration. So instead of saying, okay, well, I don't like Biden and I don't like Harris, so basically I'm just going to do a write-in vote.
I'm going to vote for Kanye.
Right. It's a wasted vote. And what that does is it allows the current administration to pull closer. Because if this
but that's their game, Terrence. That's their game. That's what they want, because if they can split our vote, they've won. And we're too dumb enough to realize, I mean, you can call it what you want. You can say, I don't like Biden, I don't like Harris. Pick the lesser of two evils.
Well, that's what
my personal opinion, the Democrats and the Republicans are still connected to the same bird at the end of the day.
Well, at the end of the day, they're politicians. And exactly. I said this to Ron before. One of the things about politicians, money is great. They do love it, but the one thing they love more than that is power. In politician, in the political world, it's all about power. How can I exert my power over you? How can I show you that I'm going to make you do what I tell you to do, and I'm going to have your people do what I tell you to do? I have that power. And with the people that we have in place now, they've exerted their power in ways that no other president that we've ever seen has ever done. We've never had Barack Obama was a very vocal president, but he wasn't sitting around at 3 o'clock in the morning tweeting about, NFL, people kneeling in the NFL, or sitting around tweeting about, what he doesn't like about a certain senator that doesn't agree with his policy. This is in the making of what I like to call a Titanic. If somebody said to you, and I said this before, if somebody said to you, hey, let's go ride on the damn Titanic, would you go get on it? Knowing what that represents. Most people say, hell no, you go get on the damn Titanic, I'm not going. But the way these people are set up, like the Kevin Hart joke used to be, the way my bank account set up, the way these people are set up right now, is that they would rather waste a vote and allow this administration to go on and see how much more damage he can do to this country.
Now back to your wasted vote. When Terrence mentioned that, and we were talking the other day about it, to me, when someone is thinking that way, that okay, I'm a vote, but I'm not going to vote for them. I'm gonna just do something half cocked over, over on the other side. Vote for a Kanye or something like that. The wasted vote thing. When you're looking at other parties that are not the main ticket or on the main docket, and you're looking at an outside party that does not, now it would be different if that party had like mass momentum, and there was a great possibility that because they're not on the ticket, but they have mass momentum, and I went in and I wrote their name in or something like that, and it has strong following, and we can kind of see that because we have such access right now. If that person has strong following, that may be something within reason. But when you say that you're going to do something outside of that and you're not going to vote for the main ticket, and that person doesn't have mass appeal or mass following, to Terrence's point, it's a wasted vote. You just throwing that vote out into the Netherlands, out into space, and nothing's going to come of it. It's going to be more detrimental and hurtful than be beneficial because you led with your heart. Think about it more logically and from that standpoint, to whereas, hey, I can logically and I can reason this out for myself. Yeah, okay. Once again, Chad, to your point, I don't like who's out there. They're not my first picks. But these are the picks. These are the ones that have the mass appeal. And now make a decision. Are you going to go this way or are you going to go that way? That's how that should work.
But the wasted vote thing, I kind of see it a little differently. I do understand what Terrence is saying when he labels it a wasted vote. But to me, it's not. It's all strategic. It's all strategic.
Well, yeah. It's strategic no, yeah, you're right. I mean, it's strategic on their side because the plan to fragment the vote. So, hey, it's because all those votes that would normally go to that side are going to be fragmented, and you're not going to get accumulated in one area. Right. That's the plan. That's the strategic plan to lessen it.
But the goal is to make the average voter think, I'm just going to write in somebody. And it just be a wasted vote. That way I don't have to worry about I didn't vote for them. I didn't vote for them. I just did a write-in. But that's strategic. That's just like saying, I'm sorry, guys. The devil's biggest trick is making you believe he didn't exist.
Right.
Well, look at it from the other standpoint, though. When I say wasted, I say it because based upon now in any other elections we could say, I mean, people do it all the time. People do write-ins all the time. They've been doing it. But when you have a situation where you know somebody's willing to do whatever it takes to win, and believe me, this guy's not going out, quietly. He's going to do whatever it takes to win.
Oh man, if he loses, the Marines are gonna have to physically put hands on him and pull him up out of
right. So when I talk wasted vote, I do process improvement. That's what I do. And in process improvement, the one thing that you look at within a process is to figure out what in the process don't you really need. Like, why are we having to do this? What good is this to us? It's called basically non-value added. So in terms of a vote, what is your vote going to add value to? So if you take your vote and you split it, or you send it out into the Netherlands and vote for Kanye, what value does your vote really have? Now, to one side, it has a hell of a lot. I mean, in theory,
that's my point. It has a whole lot of value.
It has a lot of value, but in theory, the value that the value that you think it has is the diminished value, because by you thinking that I just won't vote for anybody, technically, I've done my job.
Vote.
Right. So that's where I call it more so. I say waste, not just wasted, but it's more of a wasteful frame of mind, because now you're not being part of the value system really, because you're not voting based upon value. You're voting based upon I really don't care, so I'm just not going to do the job. Vote. And here's another thing. I'm gonna say this. I don't say this often enough. People don't understand that there is there is a part of voting that is not just about, you know, scribbling it in or clicking the thing. You have to, voting is a right, but within that right, you have to do your due diligence. You have to basically do some research. We in the era of, and this is the other part, I'm going to say this before I get into that, but with older people that are still here in this generation with us, they don't necessarily do the whole, you know, Google and internet and all of that stuff. They find out about you when you out there on the campaign trail, when you come to their church, when you come to their neighborhoods, when you come to wherever they are, to the community centers. That's how they find out about you. And they find out about you through other means of other people talking to them about you, if they're not, you know, internet savvy. So they're not out there Googling what you did, you know, 10 years ago. They're out there taking you at face value. So for them, that's a whole different side. But for us in this technological world, who takes so much pride in being able to find anything, find whatever information we want, we'll sit there and just not think about who we voting for, walk into the damn booth and just start. Some people vote all Democratic, some people vote all Republican, but you haven't even figured out what the politics of the people you're voting for. The presidential part is very important. But the part that matters most to you are the people that you're voting for in your community, the people that represent you in your community. And these are the people you have to research. The judicial, the judges, the senators, whoever you're putting into these seats, your
circuit courts.
All of these people affect what goes on in your neighborhood. And you won't even figure out who these people are.